Well, as many of you know, given your roles in various organizations, mobile broadband is exploding, and I think no one here on this panel would dispute it. I would think if we went back 2 or 3 years and looked at our forecast for mobile broadband, I don't think any of us anticipated the rate of growth and the anticipated rate of growth as devices like smartphones and connected tablets and other connected devices take hold. I think. From my perspective, and certainly from what we're asked by, our clients to really address is, what does this really mean for the role of the carrier as we go forward? And so, we take the view that, 4G and next generation networks don't mean that, big fat pipes don't mean that carriers become dumb pipes. And in some respects, what we focus on and what we've been working on is really ways to create increased opportunities and new monetization with these networks.
I'll add a couple of things to them. First of all, I think one of the things that's driving a lot of the changes and the shifting needs in coverage is actually shifts in how people are using mobile broadband. If you think back just a few years ago, the vast majority of usage when mobile devices really started was just for that. It was when people were mobile. And the reality is today, the paradigm of how people are using devices is shifting dramatically. Especially now with true mobile broadband, 4G capable mobile broadband, we're seeing so much more of the consumption of usage taking place indoors, taking place at home, in the office, and that's a different mix, and it's actually forcing a lot of our clients to struggle with how they deploy networks. To your point, how they're deploying heterogeneous networks that utilize a broad mix of technologies to provide effective coverage when and where people need it.
So I'm more carrier focused and probably not looking purely long term, but more short term. I think that this holiday selling season, we're going to see something very, very interesting in the number of smartphones as we do every year. But at the same time, the smartphone will pick up, tablets will pick up, and that will be the enabler for mobile broadband consumption. So we've tracked the market, and everybody's doing some data realignment, portfolio realignment.
I actually believe that there are plenty of ways for us as an industry to be much more efficient users of the spectrum that we have. If you look at the spectrum that's sitting idle on the sidelines, it is a massive amount. And you can make an argument for just about every chunk of it that's out there of, there's not a compatible technology, the adjacent bands haven't been cleared to prevent interference. There are a lot of great excuses for why we're not using it. At the same time, operators that we work with, both in the U.S. and internationally, are finding that their rapid growth, particularly the rapid growth of mobile broadband, has left them with a lot of sloppy operating behaviors in their systems. We've been working with operators all over the world to help them do network performance turnaround programs, and in some cases, by taking capacity out of their systems, their performance has actually gone up.
As you talked about in the first part of it, some of the drivers for that additional capacity is people sitting in buildings and people sitting in fixed locations utilizing a lot of that. So it's there's alternative ways to provide that via macro cell, and so I think you're going to see more and more attention to, I'll just use the term micro networks, and micro networks meaning small cell, picocell, Wi-Fi, offload. There's a whole new effort and attention to more Wi-Fi as a means of offload. New pico technologies, things have gotten much cheaper in the decade plus I've been involved in this industry as you look at those networks. And so I think that the 4G network won't look like the 3G network, and as you utilize that capacity in a different way and shrink the size of that cell, you're going to get greater frequency reuse, greater utilization from any given amount. Secondly, there is the tool called pricing, right? You don't want people to use it, you price it. As someone who's a trained economist, scarce resources need to be allocated, and so pricing is the tool, and if you can't do that through small cell, then you're going to do it through another means.
We know that AT&T has a huge ton of Wi-Fi assets, and that's part of their strategy mobile broadband and smartphones, whereas Verizon Wireless and others do not. So T-Mobile does have some Wi-Fi assets, but it's minuscule compared to AT&T. Verizon doesn't believe in that, and they're going with, I think they're going with Boingo as for mobile broadband as a partner for Wi-Fi offload for the mobile broadband customers. So it's an interesting space, and we think that AT&T is going to probably just only increase the Wi-Fi offload aspect of it more.